At Direct Service Garage Doors, we are your one-stop shop for all things garage door. From garage door repair and broken spring replacement to new garage doors and openers, we do it all. We're proud to be among the highest-rated local garage door companies in all of Northwest Arkansas. Our highly trained technicians are available 24 hours a day at no extra cost to you. So if you have an emergency, call us today, 479-203-5880, or visit our website at directservicenwa.com. Don't wait days. We'll fix it now.
All right, welcome everybody. Let me get this straightened out here. There we go. Boom. Get to see our ugly mugs here.
You bet.
Arkansas comes away with a big win. We'll talk about that more in just a second. Just want to give you guys a reminder. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. If you're new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to go on over to hogville.net for all the latest and greatest from the greatest in the game, all for free. Otis, Kirk, Dudley Dawson, and Kevin McPherson have you filled in on basketball, football, and baseball. Also, shout out to Garage Door Overhead, the post-game show's sponsor. We couldn't do this without them, so really appreciate them. Give them a call today if you're needing some work done at 501-244-3667. They've got better than best results, hundreds of five-star reviews, affordable outcomes, and quality parts and free estimates. They do it all over at Garage Door or Direct Service Garage Door Overhead Company. They've got you covered. Okay, trying to get ahead of myself. Okay, I picked Arkansas to lose this thing, Otis. I said I wanted them to show it to me before I could honestly pick them in a game. And on offense, they showed it.
They sure did. They lost Chavis in the secondary in the game. So I mean, I thought it was a pretty good effort. I mean, I tell you, the offense really came through. KJ Jefferson, that's why I told the person last week that said they could beat BYU with Malik. I said, slow it down a little bit. KJ Jefferson's a man. Let's don't get ahead of ourselves there. 29 out of 40, 367 yards, 5 touchdowns, 10 carries for 32 yards. Rocket Man was 15 carries for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. Matt Landers had a big game. No touchdown catches at Arkansas. He caught 8 passes, 99 yards, 3 touchdowns today. He made up for lost time today. But, Ty, last week there was some people thought we were being – or I don't know if they really thought we were, but somebody being a little bit of a homer. I picked Arkansas to be 4-3 going into the break. And guess what? They're 4-3. Now, with that said, I picked them to beat A&M. I picked them to lose to BYU. So I'm not praising myself. I'm just saying I wasn't surprised that they were sitting there at 3-3 or 4-2 or something. I mean, 4-3 is exactly where I had them. It's about where I thought they had them. And I thought, but we'll have to see. Auburn looked pretty good today. What little bit I got to see of that game, Ty. I mean, I'll tell you what, they looked pretty good against Ole Miss. I mean, Arkansas's got their work cut out for them because anybody can have some success against this defense. Hey, man, a guy we've talked about on here, both praise and critical, Hudson Clark played his rear off today, man. Sure 11 tackles, 1 interception, 1 fumble recovery. I told you and I talked one day, and we talked about him moving to middle safety, and we said that was the best thing that ever happened to him, I mean.
It's almost like we've said that, Otis, since, preseason camp.
Yeah, he is a safety, and he's not a bad safety because I'm telling you, the kid can read. He can read. He's smart. He just doesn't have the blazing speed to be a cover corner. But safety, with his ability to read the quarterback's eyes and stuff and tendencies, I'm telling you, man, that's a good move. He had 11 tackles, led the team in tackles, interception, and a fumble recovery. I'm just telling you, Hudson Clark played his rear. And, if people's going to rip him all the time, we've got to praise him too. And the guy deserves a lot of praise for today. And,
It was a very strong showing from him.
Yeah.
I thought Dwight McLaughlin also had a couple of moments. There was a play in the end zone there. I didn't realize it was him at first. Someone had to correct me in the Tuss Talk with Ty Discord. But he made a play on the ball in the end zone, which, I mean, it was a little bit overthrown, but it could have been caught had he not been there. I think Dwight has been solid for the most part.
He has.
I think it goes without saying they do have issues back there, of course, injuries.
Oh, yeah.
Otis, Blair, I mean, let's just call it like it is. We're not trying to pick on him. Blair got burnt like toast, like my kids making toast.
That fourth down pass interference was just, I mean, you know, if we're going to talk about KJ fumbling at the 3-yard line against A&M, then we could talk about Simeon Blair on fourth down and goal, and he pass interference at the 1-yard line. I mean, the ball wasn't even going to be caught. And and the announcer said it's like he panicked, you know. Those kind of mistakes can end up costing you the game. Now, with that said, we know Arkansas won comfortably today, so it didn't cost them the game. But plays like that, the one KG had against A&M, those can cost you the game, and you just can't make them. Those are mistakes that shouldn't happen, you know. I thought Chavez got called for pass interference, and I thought that was a very questionable call. Yeah. The other ones, I mean, I didn't really have a big – I had some people talking to me about the one with McLaughlin, the one down there where they were both pushing each other. It's like, how do you call it? I mean, how do you separate offense and defense? But they're going to call that on the defense most of the time. I really didn't have a big issue. The one I had an issue with was Malik. So I just didn't think that was pass interference. And they called one against BYU later that I didn't think was pass interference.
Yeah, that wasn't PI. And then you had the call too, where he was going for the
first down.
Yeah, they're going for the first down, and he had the strip, of course. I thought that was the right call, but you had the announcers saying, well, they should have blown the whistle. Well, how often has that happened to Arkansas? I remember not that long ago that happened to Arkansas. Rocket got stripped, but I felt like, well, why didn't they call the whistle? But that was going on for a while. This was pretty quick, and I thought it was the right call to not blow the whistle there.
No, it was. Well, if you're going to blow the whistle on the receiver that he's talking about, which it was, I still think it was short of the first down. But if you're going to say that, then they should have blown the whistle on KJ when he broke loose from 3 or 4 potential sacks and found Trey Knox for 20, 30, 40 yards. I mean, he was as down as that guy was, he wasn't down. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying he was as down as the receiver was.
Right. It was about the same. It was about the same amount of time. Yeah, absolutely.
Quick whistle would have got both of them.
I got to say that I have never seen from an Arkansas quarterback. I've never seen anything like that. And I know someone's going to throw Matt Jones out there. Listen, Matt Jones could escape pressure. Yeah. That was pure strength. That was balance. That was strength. That was power to evade. How many defenders? Was it 3 different times he should have been sacked?
Yeah, I mean,
I've never seen anything like
that.
Quick
whistle gets him, Ty. Quick whistle gets him. And yet he breaks and not just gets away from it to scramble for 2 or 3 yards like we've seen quarterbacks do on all teams. The kid had the thought to look downfield and see Trey Knox wide open. Yeah. So they break 3 potential sacks or whatever it was, 2, 3, 4, whatever it was. He broke those potential sacks, then had the knowledge and the ability to find Trey Knox. Yeah. You know, it'd been easy for him to just take off running then, Trey. I mean, I'm sorry, Ty, but you know, we're talking about Trey Knox. I'm calling you Trey Knox, but no, I mean, it would have been easy for KJ to just take off and start running, man. But he didn't. He saw Trey Knox and found him down there and got a first down. Big play.
Yeah, great play by him, and he's done that before this year. Not like that play, but he's made these Houdini type plays where he just chucks the ball kind of downfield while you know, under duress and complete the pass. We have seen that. Nothing like what we witnessed tonight.
Go ahead. No, I can see that's why you don't stick the ball out at the 3-yard line and try to jump. When you've got that kind of strength and power, that's why you go in there and put defenders on their butts. You don't try to stretch the ball out and chop, run over them, because that's what he was doing. I mean, he can do it. It's not a fluke. I mean, he can do it. That kid, he and Rocket are men. I mean, we've seen them in those interview rooms, Ty. Come in, we see them on the practice field, but I mean, when they come in that interview room and they've got their uniform off and they've just got their shirt, I mean, those kids are, those are men right there. He and Rocket are men.
Great combination. They clearly, listen, BYU is good on offense. I think they're as good as anybody in the country on offense, or at least they can be, especially when you have a defense like Arkansas who makes you look even better.
Yeah.
But the thing that I saw, whether it was Hazelwood early in the game, Rocket Sanders, KJ Jefferson, even AJ Green,
AJ played well.
They threw those guys off like they were rag dolls. I mean, it was like men playing with boys out on that field. And I know BYU average age is probably like 23 years old on that field, but Arkansas just made them look like boys. They were so physical as runners, stiff arming and just powering through tackles.
Yeah.
But they've done that. They've done that before, not just against these non-conference opponents, but they've done that against some pretty good schools this year. I want to say this too really quick. The ending of that game, really, I want your opinion. The ending of the game, KJ falls on his head. A lot of people saying he shouldn't have been in the play. He shouldn't have been out there. I want to get your take on that.
No, I mean, I had no problem with that. And I mean, it's easy to single out a play like that and then start saying, well, he shouldn't have been in the game at that point. No, come on, man. I mean, you can't. He ran it so many times, things like that happen, and you've got 2 weeks to prepare. Even if he got like a concussion or something, protocols. I mean, you got 2 weeks before they play again. So I mean, he made the play. He was trying to make something happen, and you can't. No, I don't think you sub out at that point. I mean, if you didn't say that before the play, then don't say it after the play. That's my point. And I wasn't saying that before the play or thinking.
My thinking was at first like, well, maybe they shouldn't have had him in. But then the more I thought about it, they were clearly trying to score on that drive. They did. The goal was not to sub him out. And then on top of that, like you said, they've got the bye week next week. The game was over at that point, and someone could make the argument, well, he shouldn't have been out there because the game was over. But it was very clear the staff wanted to put more points on the board. I kind of wish they just kicked that field goal at the end. I'm not going to lie. I just want the point.
Josh Gar's got a good point. That KJ play reminded me of O'Grady against Colorado State. I'm going to tell you, there was some similarities. You remember that play in Razorback Stadium where Cheyenne or CJ caught that pass and broke a bunch of tackles and went. So, yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good comparison, I was thinking, Colorado State, he didn't even get to travel to Fort Collins, but then I remember they played down here the next year, and I remember that play very well. I was actually on the sidelines at that point of the game, and man, CJ just barreled him over. But yeah,
well, I was very impressed with how the offense responded. They got off to yet another slow start in the first quarter. Otis, they average. I did the math, and I am not a mathematician, not the brightest bulb in the room when it comes to talking about math, but they average 5 points every opening quarter. That's their average. Like when you crunch the numbers, that's not very good. They're getting off to these really slow starts, but then look how, they followed that up with a huge second quarter and a big second half. The defense did finally respond in the game.
I thought the defense gave them a chance today, and the offense won the game. And that I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. The offense won the game for them, but I thought the defense they got a stop or two there, 1 or 2 points. I thought they played better. I thought the defense at least gave them a chance today. They gave them no chance against Mississippi State, no chance. Yeah. But I did like how Arkansas was aggressive in the first half with their defense and not just doing what they did at Starkville, rush 3 people and put 5 in the box and never put pressure on them. They did in the first half especially. Then when they got the lead built up, they kind of backed off of that and prevented the long touchdown. The easy touchdown. Mm-hmm. But I was more impressed. Yeah, I was impressed with even the defense today, especially as the game went on. They've got to play better defense, and let's see if they get some people healthy. They've got to play better D, but that's a pretty good offensive team that they played today.
Well, BYU's they're not chumps on the offensive side of the ball. They're pretty good. The defense, like I said this on Twitter. Arkansas's offense is going to have to score about 40+ points a week to win games, and I don't know that I see that happening. I have people asking me, Ty, do you where are you with them on because I told my YouTube, the Tuss Talk with Ty people in the Discord, I told them I don't know if I have them in or out of a bowl yet. I don't know. Let me reassess. I'll get back to you after this BYU game. I took the scoundrel way out there. I wanted to see them get this win first. They showed me on offense that not only could they get off to a slow start, turn the football over, all the miscues in the first quarter, start off really slow. Not only did they show me that they could respond, but the defense did respond in the latter half of this game. I mean, say what you want about what they did in, the rest of the 80% of the ball game, and Otis and I will agree with you, but the defense did find a way to respond. Now,
Paul had a pretty good player too there, late in the game, and the guys talking about Paul. He stepped up. In addition to Hudson Clark, I thought Drew Sanders came up a few times. Bopper always flashes, and stuff. I thought Cam Ball had a good stopper too. Isaiah Nichols. I thought that, it wasn't beautiful. I mean, the offense had to win the game, and they're probably going to have to win a lot of games from this point forward. But I think they've got some weapons on offense. I said before the season, I think you did too, we talked about they don't have a Traylon Burks back there at receiver, but they've got a lot deeper group. Last year, if Traylon didn't beat you, probably didn't get beat by the receivers. This year, you've got Hazelwood, you've got Landers, you've got Keytron Jackson, you've got Warren Thompson. And Warren was probably second or third best receiver on the team last year, and this year he's probably fourth at best. Well, he is fourth at best. You definitely got Landers, Hazelwood, and Keytron, not in any order, but those three are ahead of him. And then you got Warren, and then Trey Knox has stepped up and had a big game too. But
that's your weather report.
No, that was John. That was John calling me. I wanted him to look at those photos.
Doesn't he know we're in a dadgum post-game show, John?
Yeah.
I'm just
Watch
kidding,
the show, John, and then call me later, man. Come on, tune in, buddy.
Tune in. That's right. You know what we're doing. You're our photographer. You're the photographer for Hogville. You know what's going on.
Get that going here, man. Come on.
Steven says, even against better teams, our offense is only a few mistakes from being a 40-point offense. I think that's a pretty good point.
Well, they were on that course at A&M. They scored the first two times they had the ball. It was 14-0, Ty. And then they started shooting themselves in the foot with weird calls from the coordinator, and then KJ's fumble, and just various things. It just kind of like but they were on course that game to score a lot of points if they just kept their foot on the gas, kept running, doing what was working, like Dominic up the middle, and not worried about hurting people's feelings by not playing them. Play your players and getting there and win,
Yeah.
And KJ gives you the best chance of winning. All this talk last week about Malik, come on, man. I mean, really, KJ is the man. Him and Rocket Sanders give you a chance against anybody.
They're your best options back there. And I was going to ask you about that too, and I'll probably ask Dudley the same question. What's with Rocket completely disappearing in the rotation in like the third quarter? I've seen that week in and week out. I think I've asked you about this once before, but we saw it again. What's your take on that?
I thought today it was because of the altitude. They were trying to keep him fresh for the fourth quarter.
Oh, that's a good point.
I think today that was it. Now, I know, like you said, there's been times it's how fast. I don't know if they're trying to keep all the running backs happy, especially AJ and Rashad, but because still Dominic, Johnson's not playing that much. But I thought today the reason they did that with Rocket was just simply because of the altitude. They wanted him fresh. Because you didn't know at the time, if you remember when they were setting him, they didn't know they'd have a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter, and be driving to have a 24-point lead. At the time, they didn't know that. So I can credit that today. It's happened some other times, and I can't answer the reason for that, other than the fact that he likes his other running backs, and I guess he doesn't want to just beat one to death, But AJ, to me, is really pretty good running back. I mean, people forget he was the number one player in Oklahoma and a 4-star running back. I mean,
AJ Green?
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah.
I like him. He runs tougher than you think he would at his size. He's not as big as Rocket. And I'm not saying he's not as good as Rocket. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I really like AJ, and I like him to get carries. That kid runs tough for his size. He's got great speed. People don't realize how fast he was in high school.
I kind of wonder a little bit if if some of that is trying to keep all these guys happy. We know that they're so deep, at that spot. They're just trying to keep everybody happy. Dubinion, who's a true freshman, I mean, every time that guy touches the ball, it's like he's fighting for first down yardage. I think he had a couple times where he was stopped at around the line of scrimmage, but even then, he just keeps moving his feet. Great pad level, just gets down. Great burst off the cut. I really like Dubinion. I think his ceiling is pretty high, and the fact that he's in there getting the rotations. I'm going to ask you because I've already had 3 different text messages and 2 different DMs, and we've talked about this before. Well, maybe I should just make an announcement. I have no idea what's going on with Dominic Johnson. I don't know. For everyone who's asked me, I don't know. We don't talk to the coaches on that level. I don't know, Otis, if you want to add something to that, but I have no idea why he's not out there. He's not hurt.
I don't either, but I mean, you've got Rocket and AJ and Rashad are playing really well, and they maybe don't want to take carries away from those 3 kids. It's hard enough to get 3 running backs the carries to keep them all happy. Yeah. And I think they look at their running back room and they think there's Rocket, there's AJ, and there's Rashad that they don't want to lose. And I think they're going to take care of them and get their carries. And if it steps on someone else's foot along the way, and speaking of Dominic, then so be it. But I think they look at the room and the 3 they don't want to lose if they're trying to keep happy. And they were talking about that last week in the Georgia game, how they were throwing late and it wasn't to run a score. It was to keep those receivers happy because one transferred to Alabama from Georgia. With the transfer portal now, you've got to try to keep your best players happy.
For sure.
And the announcers, I was watching that Georgia game last week, they commented on that. And so it makes sense. I mean, you're trying – and I look at the running back room, and I think they love AJ, they love Rashad, and they obviously love Rocket. And, Rocket's not going anywhere, but the other 2. Well, we can say this about the Vandy level on the defense, and I'm not sitting here telling you they're going to score 52 points each game. But now I watched them play Notre Dame. I watched them beat Baylor. And I can assure you, Tusky, that Vandy would not beat Baylor. And I saw them beat Baylor. I saw them play Notre Dame. So, I mean, I don't know why. Everybody wants to pour something. They want to gripe or pour cold water on there, when something good happens. And, they're not a Vandy level defense. They're, will Arkansas score 52 points every game? No. But let's be honest. They beat Baylor. And Vandy would not beat Baylor, I can assure you.
Right. And Tusky says, so what Tusky said here, let me set this up. Guys, BYU defense is just not talented compared to SEC defenses. They are Vandy level. I don't know about that. Are they good on defense? No, but they have the number 25 passing defense in the country. Yeah. No, they're not Vandy level bad on defense, Tusky. I'm sorry. I'm happy with the win, but don't expect this offensive output the rest of the season. I mean, there might be truth in that part of it, maybe.
Well, nobody's saying there will be. Nobody's saying they're going. KJ's going to throw 5 touchdown passes and they're going to score 52 points every game. Nobody's saying that, but I don't think they have to do that. If they get healthier on defense, where they can make some more stops, they won't have to score 52 to win,
They didn't have either of the Johnsons. They didn't have Slusher. We already know. I mean, Catalan's not coming back. That's done and over with.
And Bishop's not coming back. And they lost Chavis. So, I mean, you're talking about basically, I mean, you had Trent Gordon going in there. You had, not that he's bad, but I'm just saying you had him. You had Hudson Clark. You had Simeon Blair. You had DeWitt McLaughlin. You had Brenny. I mean, you're running out of bodies back there, man. I mean, I have people messaging me wondering why they're moving receivers over there. And I'm sitting there, have you seen the room? I mean, have you not seen how many injuries they've got? I mean, look, I think Quincy Mack, I don't know anything about Sam Bakke playing defensive back. He hasn't played since junior high. And I'm getting off track here, but I do want to say, don't be surprised if Quincy Mack can do it at some point this season, helps him on defense, because I'm telling you, that kid was good at Clarendon on defense and receiver.
Yeah, they're thin. Also to his point, we were talking about what's going on with the running back rotation. Tusky also said, if you've ever visited that part of the country, the elevation takes a toll on your conditioning. That's why Rocket was held till the 4th when we needed him. I get that, but the point that I was making again, Tusky, was that we've seen that before.
Yeah.
They have benched him or whatever, allowed other running backs to get carries. And typically it happens in the third quarter, and then we start to see him. My only guess is at this point, if it's a routine, then it's a conditioning thing for the rest of the game. They know they're going to need him later on, so keep him healthy. We have breaking news here. We'll go ahead and just talk about it really fast. Tennessee does beat Alabama in an upset at home, 52-49. I thought that might possibly go to overtime, but it does not. And Tennessee now probably going to break into the top 3, maybe even the top 2, depending on what happens around college football. Also, TCU looks like 2 overtimes upsets Oklahoma State. I don't know if I call that an upset, really. Number 13 over number 8. I guess it's an upset. Not really.
I think
TCU is going to remain undefeated, 6-0, 3-0 in the Big 12. Oklahoma State goes down. So that'll be interesting. That will eliminate, in my opinion, Oklahoma State from any possibilities of making the playoffs. Now TCU's in the driver's seat.
Right.
A lot of Big 12, a lot of interesting things happen along the Big 12. In the SEC also, there were some interesting things happen. We'll get to those scores later. We've also got Dudley Dawson on deck. He's up next. Leslie says Rocky Top, Tennessee. I will allow it only because they beat Bama. So, all right, Otis, I do appreciate you, man. Looking forward. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, man. Have a good one. Talk
You
to
too.
later.
Let's bring in, there he is, Dudley, the man Dawson. How you doing, Dudley? Oh, hang on. I think you're muted. Hold on.
Am I actually coming on this show and hearing somebody upset about a win? I mean, seriously, dudes. This is not a great football team. It may not even be a good football team. But this was a loss that everybody had marked down to go to start the year. And I certainly didn't think they'd go win. I'm still kind of stunned they did. The game just kind of flipped there when BYU went for it on 4th down in their own territory. I mean, you and I've sat up there and talked about this in the press box early. There are so many things that can go wrong when you do that. And that was one of the things that went wrong. Yeah. And I think that was a big impetus in Arkansas getting back in the ball game and then being able to ride that momentum.
10 different targets for KJ today. That's I don't know if that's a career high. I think it's up there. But 10 different targets in the passing game. He was on fire. And like I said to Otis a minute ago, BYU's not bad in the secondary. They're top 25 in the country. And KJ made it look pretty easy. 29 of 40, 367, 5 touchdowns, which is tied for 3rd all time at Arkansas in a single game, if I read that list correctly. So KJ goes on the road in a hostile environment against what I would argue is at least a salty secondary and rips them to shreds. What was your takeaway on KJ and the offense as a whole?
Well, I expected him after all the talk this week of how well Malik Hornsby had played to come out and really do, really have a good game. And I think that's what he did. He missed some throws early. Certainly, I think he could have made some better reads in the running game. But here's one thing I'd say is that this is a BYU team that only gave up 28 to Notre Dame. And Notre Dame's a better football team than Arkansas. I think we can all agree on that. Even though they had the loss to Marshall early in the year, and that game was in Las Vegas when they played BYU. But this is an offensive output to be celebrated, not diminished. I don't care if they're you think their defense is like Vanderbilt or whatever. Well, they held Notre Dame to 28. So let's don't poo-poo the idea that Arkansas had a good offensive day. They did a lot of good things. I thought they did really well in combating the element, which is, the altitude and all that. Mm-hmm. And, they certainly got whipped early on defense. And, they were passing out, passing out pass interference. Just penalties like it was, candy for Halloween. But, I think you have to give them a little credit for what they did in the second half. And basically, in Coach Pittman's press conference, I'll just bring this in. He said that he told Barry Oldham at halftime, make them run the ball. Tired of this passing stuff and them just lighting us up, make them run the ball. And that's when he, went back to to the cloud 2 zone, which obviously was not very successful against Mississippi State, but proved to be, at least from the middle of the second quarter on, today.
Yeah. Defense certainly changed it up in the second half and clearly kind of clamped down on BYU in the fourth quarter. Like I was telling Otis, Arkansas on offense in the first quarter, not trying to poo-poo Dudley, not trying to poo-poo the Razorbacks, but they did get off to yet another slow start. They turned the ball over, and then even late in the game, they did choke down the 5-yard line, which is something they just do. They struggle to score sometimes when they're down the red zone, but today it's like 80% of this game they were absolutely fine. They got off to a really slow start. They came back. They took the lead, especially after BYU. Boy, you talk about bad special teams. Oh my Lord. They had no faith in their kicker, and of course we saw them miss that extra point. We've been there. Hog fans should know. They've been there. This has been tough before. Alabama goes down. Yep. We made that announcement. That's huge. That's absolutely.
I had the game on the tail end of it here while I was getting ready to come on, and Alabama went wide right on its field goal, which would have put them ahead with 20-something seconds left. Tennessee, Hendon Hooker in his Heisman moment, or at least he's got to be in the conversation now. Unloads a big pass to Bruno McCoy, gets them into field goal range, and their field goal kicker came out, and it was the worst made field goal you will ever see in your life. It was a knuckleball that did not look like it was going to get over the post, but it did, and then the field suddenly turned orange with running out to on there, and I'm sure we'll see the many pictures of Will Anderson on his knee after the game, after this big loss to him, and there is already tons of people out there on the football field smoking cigars. That's always Alabama's thing when they beat Tennessee, and they beat them 15 years in a row, I think. And they're lighting up out there. Some cigars look like some other things being lit up out there. So I mean, they're having a ball.
Yeah, well, they deserve it. They earned it. I know some Hog fans. You see how quickly Tennessee turned it around. I know some Hog fans get a little envious of that, and I get it. I'm going to be honest with you. Tennessee is like my second most hated team in this conference, no matter the sport. But it's good to see Bama go down. That's what I am happy to see, is to watch them lose, like when they lost to A&M last year. That was even though as much as I hate A&M, it was good to see Alabama go down. Bring them down a peg.
The one thing that's really similar to Arkansas and Tennessee is that Tennessee's secondary is just horrible. I mean, they make no bones about that, but they have the firepower to score against great defenses. Obviously, putting up the points they did, 52 today on Alabama, and one of those was a defensive fumble recovery that looked like it was going to be the normal thing that allowed Alabama to come back and beat Tennessee.
Wow.
But great game for them, and renewed my faith in college football today. I loved sitting home here watching.
I'm telling you, we need more parity in this sport.
No reason should work like that, and they do. That's just the greatness of it.
Yeah. Well, going back to this game really quick, something else that kind of stood out to me: Arkansas 3 straight weeks, no sacks. That kind of stood out. Now BYU, and I mentioned this on Thursday, they don't give up a lot of sacks. However, he was hurried a grand total of 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
And they ended up with only 3 tackles for loss, but that's a hell of a lot better than last week when they had or the last couple of weeks, where they've kind of struggled there. But something else that kind of stands out: Drew Sanders, for the first time this year, he's outside the top 5 in total tackles. Just 4 tackles.
I'm just taking a look at that. Now, you wouldn't have had Hudson Clark and Trent Gordon as your 2 top tacklers going into this game by no way. The injuries have just kept coming, and that's elevated Trent Gordon to having to play more today. Not only do you have 3 first teamers out for the right now, and Miles Slusher didn't make the trip. He's the third one I'm talking about. But then you have 3 others that are injured and did not even make the trip. Then you have Malik Chavis going out in the middle of the ball game. Even when they've been healthy, and that was early on, they haven't played great in the secondary. But you have to give them some credit today in the second half, that is, because they were able to do enough things in what turned into a 7-on-7 game to get a couple of stops, and then in a 7-on-7 game.
Yeah,
that's what this was. And in Arkansas scored 8 straight possessions.
That's crazy.
That's nuts.
That's crazy. I don't know the last time that's happened against a quality opponent. I don't know. And the fact that KJ, again, I feel renewed confidence in what they could do in the passing game. That was one of the biggest criticisms for KJ this year was, well, he's not stretching the field out. He doesn't look like he's progressed. I was one of them. I asked chat on Friday, I think it was. I asked Tuss Talk with Ty chat, what are we seeing the progression? Where's the progression at on this roster? Where are we seeing it? I certainly think KJ took a step in the right direction, and clearly that week off probably aided that a little bit for sure. 29 of 40 again, 367, 5 touchdowns, 644 total yards of offense against 471. Almost 300 yards rushing. They did have a lot of penalties, 7 penalties for almost 100 yards, 98.
Five of them were early on. That again in the second half, they were not. They shut that down to where they were killing themselves.
Yeah.
And the turnovers were a big deal. You have to get them, and you can't give them to the other team. And after that first one, they were okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be positive about. There's also a lot to be realistic about.
Oh yeah.
But you now have 2 weeks to get healthy. You're going to have some confidence after winning. You're going to go into Auburn. There's no telling what's going to happen in that game. We're not, I'm not even sure that Brian Harsin will be the coach there when they get there. But at the same time, his team played hard for him today. I mean, they went out and really battled Ole Miss, and it looked like Ole Miss was going to run away when it was 21-0. So I'll give Auburn credit. They haven't quit. They're just not very good. So this could be kind of a futility bowl if Arkansas hadn't won against BYU, but at least they're going to go in feeling a little bit better about that. And one other thing I want to point out, Matt Landers had as many catches last week as me and you. He did not have a single catch. He goes out, has 8 for 99 today. And for all the talk about the receivers not performing up to how they should and the drops and stuff, as Stephen says here in his thought here, the receivers did actually help him out a lot of that today, and the reemergence of Trey Knox as well.
Yeah. Oh, it was nice to see that. Trey Knox looked great. Richard Baker says we need an intelligent quarterback. I'm assuming you must be like a BYU fan or something. I don't know why you would say that. I thought KJ was quite cerebral today, if I do say so myself. Going to throw out some fancy word for you. I thought he was great. I don't know what kind of comment that is, but
that's a comment that just simply doesn't need to be made. If you don't think he's playing well, that's one thing. But there are ways to put that without making it so degrading, and that's just no.
Yeah, not a good comment. Unfortunately, I don't have the
decisions is better. Right.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. You don't have the stats to back that up either. I mean, he was great today. I thought KJ was phenomenal. Something else that stood out too. Third down, they've been not great here. They were 12 of 15 on third down. Dudley, I don't know. That's a season high, maybe even a close to a career high for KJ as far as being on the offensive side of things. To go 12 of 15 on third down, that stood out. And then they were 7 of 13, but I mean, yeah, again, we know what's going on with the defense there.
It's really 6 more times than they've gotten the opponents off at other times. So again, not what you want, but what you'll take today.
Yeah. Dr. Pep says, I have met and asked KJ questions. That young man is incredible. There you go. Positivity, especially after this win. Shouldn't be any negativity, right? This was a good win. This is a really good win.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go far so there shouldn't be any negativity, but don't be your focus. And I know that in society these days that it's cool to have angst, be upset and all that, but take a moment to, I'm sure my wife would have rather married Leonardo DiCaprio than me, but this is what she got. And she's dealing with it, and she's happy. So that just be okay with the win and move on, and they get better.
Would she have let you drown if you two were on the Titanic? Would she have just let you?
Absolutely not. No, she's ride or die.
There you go. That's a sign of a strong couple right there. I feel the same way with my wife. Although sometimes I'm sure there's some days where she's like, "No, I'd probably let go. You could swim." Still diving head first is not smart. Okay, I mean, sure, but he's that KJ, kind of like the comment someone said earlier. He lives for those kind of plays, right? To make those kind of plays, and sometimes he might be doing a little too much. And you know what? I mean, he did what he did. Again, there's also the conversation that could be had. Otis didn't agree with it, but that should he have been out on the field at all on that final drive? And I don't know if you heard my rebuttal to that, Dudley. I basically just was like, my response was, well, they were trying to score on that drive. They wanted to put points on the board. And I don't know that you get points with Malik Hornsby down in the 5. But then again, we've also seen, even when KJ's on the field, they've also struggled.
They didn't. I mean, he came out of the ballgame and they didn't get
they didn't get points.
What I say about that is there are plenty of things that I question, with this coaching staff and the players sometimes. But that's probably not one of them. I'd have to go back and take a better look at it. But at the same time, if you're going to be talk about the malign defense so much, and that they can score at any point, and what was it, 4 minutes left still, I think, at that time. So you could criticize, but at the same time, if he comes out, Malik Hornsby goes in and fumbles the ball, they run it all the way back, and you lose the ball game. Are you still going to say they should have took KJ out? Now, I would have again, and I think that the thought is right. Okay, it's you're not Superman. Quit diving, get down. You had the first down already. Just play a little safe. I know that's not in his mentality, but
Yeah, it's really not. He just kind of puts his body out there, and whatever happens, happens. And like if he wants to play at the next level, man, you got to be a little smarter than that. I agree. Please get rid of the 3-man front. I was going to ask you your thoughts on this today, though. Talking about not getting to the quarterback, not racking up the TFLs like I kind of thought they might today. They are pretty consistent with that 3-man front, but we did see a little bit more pressure towards the end of the game.
I thought, and here's something that I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong for thinking this, but I thought for the first half, especially when BYU only rushed for 17 yards, and they did, have several attempts that they tried at.
Yeah,
the 3-man front was good against the run fit. I thought your linebackers, and they were bringing a safety down at times, so you really at times had 7 in the box. So it was, you got 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. You can't. The secondary can't play man to man. They just can't do it. And if they are close to them, they get interference penalties. So it's a crapshoot here, and Barry was rolling the dice and all those things. It sounds like that. From listening to Coach Pittman in his press conference afterwards, that the one thing he wanted to make sure was that they were not going to pass the ball all over the place in the second half. So they came out and redesigned it. I think 6 out of the first 11 plays, BYU ran the ball. The young man who got most of the carries did a really good job in getting them down the field. And then it turned into the 7-on-7 game.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you can criticize, but at times, everybody says get rid of the 3-man front or bring pressure and all that. Who's going to make plays? I mean, tell me that who has made plays this year other than Drew Sanders coming off the line? Who has made plays this year? It makes you feel comfortable in any defense that he could put out there.
I would say Jordan Dominic at times early on, but we also have kind of seen him just disappear. Jackson, it's kind of 50-50. I thought he's getting better against the run. I've seen him make plays against the run, not so much today. But yeah, that's a good point. I don't know if you do put a 4th man, who do you feel confident in? The homegrown guys haven't really lived up to that expectation as far as getting after the quarterback. So yeah, I agree. I don't know.
The next game is against Auburn. they are not a great passing team now. They complete some passes, and then sometimes they're big plays, but you've got to stop the run with them. So what are you going to go in and do that with? I don't think you'll see 8 dropped all the time against them because there's no reason to. You got to stop the run with Tank and all that and do things there. So I think you'll continue to see adjustments. And I at least thought they did a little bit more this week in terms of disguising schemes, even though they didn't alter them that much.
Yeah. I had my question up here and I can't find it. Well, I will ask you this. Reed Bauer, he came out today. He was the starter. His one and only punt went for 62 yards. I'm sure the altitude probably had an effect on that, but it was still good to see that. So Reed kind of backs up that evidence. Sam Pittman said he will continue to be the starter until he shows otherwise. Well, he certainly showed it today with a 62-yard punt. I can't remember the last time a punter did that at Arkansas. Didn't he have a 60? Did he have a 60-yarder last week or week before last?
I think it was 50s though.
Maybe.
Whatever that decision made, that's one of those that you certainly can criticize, and I'll be glad to do that. I mean, I think Fletcher's going to probably be real good. We've watched him in practice, and he booms them in practice, but it doesn't matter what you do in practice. In terms, it matters what you do in games. And, whether it's Malik Hornsby or the punter. And, that was I thought that was a big thing today. He flipped the field.
Yeah.
Early on in the game, Arkansas was living down there on its end of the field, having to, start one possession on the 1 yard line and some different things. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's the nuts thing is both of those things in that statement you made is, number one, that they just punted once. And number two, the punt went 62 yards.
Yeah. The one and only.
And they did try to rest Rocket a little bit. He talked about this after the game, but he is a little banged up. Everybody's pretty much banged up, but they wanted him to be fresh for finishing, and he did. When he ripped off on the 64-yarder, that was that. And I continue to wonder where the heck is Dominic Johnson. That I think that's going to be one of the questions I'm going to ask next week. But you got to give him credit because for all the decisions you can get after Kendall Briles about and Coach Pittman, 644 yards against air hasn't happened here at times.
Yeah, it was great. I think this might be the best offensive performance since he's been the coordinator here. I don't know. Maybe I'm out of line saying that, but you don't rack up that kind of yardage. KJ do what he did without KB calling the plays, right, and dialing it up. I kind of felt like he was in a rhythm, and it helps too that it was so easy to run the football. I was going to ask you, did he?
I did think that he gets into this deal where they run the football well, and he thinks he's got to pass it. And they were running the football well, and then 3 straight passes.
And then they have to punt.
Yeah,
because the 3 passes don't get them the first down, they don't convert. Yeah, did Sam Pittman say anything about KJ at all? Did he say he was okay, or did anyone ask him?
He got a stinger. He was dinged up a little bit, but mostly his contact came out.
Okay, so that's what it was. All right. So I was answering text messages and kind of moving around when they came back from the commercial break, and I didn't get a chance to see what was going on. I saw them messing with his face, but I didn't know. Okay, well, that's good then.
Mine come out while I'm walking. I can't imagine playing in them, but I guess you would want to because running around with glasses back there might be tough.
You could always put those Eric Dickerson goggles on. Run the football. Raheem Sanders, 179 total yards. We talked about him a little bit. Matt Landers, 99 yards. And then AJ Green had a big game as well. Just all the way around, the offense looks – I mean, they were dialed in. I don't know – last week I do think Arkansas scores more if KJ's the guy. I don't know how if that changes the ending result much because I think Mississippi State is just a little bit ahead of Arkansas right now. But again, you feel pretty good going into the bye week, getting ready for Auburn, and you have a showing like this on offense. The defense responds really well, and you know what? They did it too. The defense was able to respond without Drew Sanders having a big impact too. That's something else. I think he did have a quarterback hurry late in the game, and he ended up with 2 or 3. But the guy that really stole the show today, though, was Hudson Clark. I mean, Hudson Clark leads the team in tackles, led the team in tackles. He had an interception and a fumble recovery today. It like Otis said earlier, I don't know if you caught that part or not, but Otis and we talked about this back at fall camp. This guy is a safety. That's what he is. And here he is making plays. And I think back-to-back weeks, obviously this week being the best week that he's had, but back-to-back weeks, he's played pretty damn solid at that middle safety spot.
He's underweight and he's not as physical as he should be. And I know that people just want to poke at him, because he gets a lot of, criticism when he gives up. There was one time today when he gave up a big play, but, take into account that he's doing the best with what he has, and he's kind of continuing to play out there. He's injured, or hurt or whatever you want to, but he continues to go out there and play. And he may have limitations, but he's doing, I don't want to say he's doing the best he can, but he's doing what he can with what God gave him to work with. And, in a secondary where there are now at least 2 kids that transferred to LSU, 6 other defensive backs who have not, who have had injuries and have missed games or missed action, including in this game, 3 who didn't even travel today. And then a couple of guys where's Chase Lowry and Keon Parker gone? I mean, Keon Parker, he was asking him to play, play more then. And Chase Lowry, those are guys that came in, and were viewed as very good players, and they're not back there. I don't know if they're hurt. I don't know if they're saving them for the red shirt or whatever. That's another question to ask this week, just what's going on there. But, you get a win. You can't be satisfied with it. You got to get a lot better, but it's much better than the alternative, especially when you have a bye week. If you lost this game, you probably weren't going to get any better mentally or emotionally. You might have gotten better physically, but you wouldn't get better mentally or emotionally going down to Auburn. I like their chances to win much more at Auburn now that they won today than I would have if they had if they'd lost today.
For sure. And this was a big confidence booster, I think, not only for the players and the staff, but for fans as well. They need, and I hate to, I'm not trying to put fans over the team but after all, we're only here because of fans, and the players only have all the access to the facilities and everything. They're not there without the fans, without the support of the fans. So this felt like a good win for them as well. They needed the confidence boost as well, but the team got it, and the coaching staff got it today. A good shot in the arm, if you will. And so maybe they'll build off of this, take it into the bye week, get healthy, or as healthy as they can get. They're so banged up and feels like I don't know what they're going to do in the secondary. They might hold tryouts, Dudley. They might hold tryouts. I heard a rumor years ago they did that at quarterback, or they had really considered doing that back in the early nut years. Is there truth in that?
They did do it, and John Rutledge ended up walking on as a quarterback from the student body and ended up playing some. So
he was a flag football player, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. Oh my God.
Hey, and if you listen, man, I mean, if you just listen to kids talk and students talk, there are some phenomenal football players over there playing flag football and intramural football.
Bring them on.
Yeah.
So bring them on. I don't know. They're so desperate. They're moving wide receivers over to corner halfway through the year. I mean, it's clear they're desperate, and for good reason. I mean, of course they are, because you're so banged up. There's also you can't just put it all on injuries. I will agree that the recruiting effort back there may not be as strong as you would like, and hasn't been for the last couple of years, and it shows its ugly face when you do get riddled with injuries. But at the same time, it's just part of the game, and you got to deal with it. And Arkansas is doing the best they can. That's funny. Okay, so that was true. I remember hearing that years ago and thinking, no way. And then Dudley Dawson just confirmed it.
His name is John Rutledge.
I'll be dadgum. There you go. They're going to have to do the same thing in the secondary.
Houston Nut Air.
Yeah, Houston Nut Air. Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it. I do appreciate you guys. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Go on over to hogville.net. Free content. Dudley and Otis have you covered for football. And Kevin McPherson also. Basketball's around the corner, so we'll have everything for you over there for free. And of course, make sure like I said, here you subscribe. Dudley, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time. Looking forward to look. We got a bye week, so I don't know what we're gonna do this weekend, but I'm sure we'll figure something out. But
I've got some thoughts.
All right, well, there you go. Yeah, does that involve Emma Street in a certain place?
Yep. It's not all unicorns and rainbows and all that now, but the alternative is better than what it could have been with the loss. So
there you go. All right, everybody, enjoy the win, take it in, and get ready for the bye week, and then Auburn's up next. So we'll see how that one goes. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you on the next one.